Hello?
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Hey man, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I have a question about confidence in this game. Um, I I made my first dollar in 2010. I was full time for a few years since 2011, and like my main focus was SEO, and like my first main business failed, and I'm like turning 30, and I'm just my confidence is gone in this game. Like the whole internet marketing thing is just like I'm beaten down.
So what do you want? Do you want me? Yeah, I don't know where to go with it.
Well, my question is, do you ever have to deal with questioning yourself, questioning failure? I mean, because it's like I know what to do. You build a list, you make offers, you create your own offers. It's kind of like I know everything to do. I've done it. I have the proof that I've done it, and I'm just up against no confidence now. Have you ever dealt with anything like that? Have you ever seen that in any other of your students? Just no confidence?
Well, so let me ask this though, because I thought you said you are you burnt out or you
That's a word that's been flashing in my head. Yeah,
so
I've been. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
because what I would say is I would want to the first thing I would ask you is which is it and are you sure?
Hmm.
Um, and so I guess let's start there. Kind of give me a little bit of feedback on that. So
I the word burnout describes it, um, but also there is a sense of no of not having a challenge, I guess, or not having a mission. Because when I started off online, I had a, a, a membership site that helped people. It's in a small market. It's in the youth ministry market, and we had over 500 members, right? So for a small fee, we created materials basically for youth ministers to use on a weekly basis.
mhm.
And I got fulfillment out of that. And I learned so much about this business from you and from other people. And when I was also learning, I kind of took that business for granted. And for a couple of reasons, like SEO, we got knocked back a few different ways. We lost rankings on some main keywords that we were making, or that we were using to make money. Um, and I didn't put in the effort to learn other marketing strategies. And like, I'm sorry, I have so many ideas in my head, and I know that you're probably just like rolling your eyes or something, but
Oh man, I'm here with you. I'm here with you. I'm just trying to listen into what you're saying to me so I can get a good understanding.
yeah, I'm sorry. I just have so many ideas, and
No, you're lucid, you're clear. I'm
yeah,
in my own mind forming questions so that I can get a greater clarity and distinction towards what
yeah.
really is going on.
It's just I know what to do in this business to succeed. I know it. It's not even a question. It just comes down to there's this fear like that you build it up again, and it's gonna go away, or that I don't know. It's really weird, man. And I'm turning 30, and it's like I don't want to be 50 and be in the same position.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I've had to reinvent my business several times. So from a personal standpoint, I know where you're coming from. I've had times
Yeah.
where it's been my own sort of ignorance of factors that have caused collapses. I've had times where it's been absolutely of no fault of my own, just forces at play that were unanticipated, things that you couldn't anticipate, causing, kind of the collapse of all your hard work. It hurts your feelings. That's something that I was definitely depressed for a period of time, and I felt powerless.
Yeah.
Um, from a personal perspective, I'll share a few things and I'll ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
So, my perspective in terms of marketing, and by the way, we have one other person on here. Uh, I don't know what your name is because it says count up 365. Whoever that is, welcome. It's just us three because I didn't send out a reminder message, so it's kind of like a special bonus deal here. Um, my perspective, I've always been the type of person that took to marketing as a puzzle
Mm-hmm.
or something I want to figure out. And when I had essentially all my traffic sources, so we're kind of speaking in the same language, kind of pulled from underneath me without any sort of recourse,
Right.
created a puzzle that I couldn't solve. And that created a lot of self-doubt, a lot of just, anxiety, a lot of fear, all those sorts of things, depression, all that,
Right.
no doubt. Um, Ultimately, what I realized, though, after maybe 5, 6 months of just literally wallowing in my own grief in Maui, Hawaii, looking over my lanai, I just moved out there because I just rebuilt my business that year. And let's say 4 months into moving to Maui, the rug gets pulled out from underneath me. And then it's just a decline. It's like watching this thing you raised, this thing you built, this thing you took great care of, just kind of die in front of you. Nothing you can do about it. So it was an ironic scenario, nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
Wallowing in that place for quite a period of time wasn't fun. I mean, it's just like smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day and like drinking beer just to fall asleep and like
Mm-hmm.
waking up in a pure panic. Just like, I don't want to ever experience that sort of stuff ever again. When it came to the point where I had to leave Maui, and I had to kind of lay off everyone that was working for me because the money was almost gone. I don't remember exactly how this came to mind, but I remember that I had an insight, which was there's 2 parts to it. Number one was the reason that I was feeling this way was because I had felt as if a certain level of safety or security was taken away from me. I didn't know my future at that point.
Right.
And when I dug into that a little deeper, what it revealed was that, especially in this industry, right, where you're teaching others to prosper and build businesses, if you don't feel that you can survive, how can you, share that message that others can? You can't be very within integrity, positive about the future prospects of things. So during that period, it's very hard for me to market anything because I didn't have any belief. At the end, what I realized was that although I spoke to ideas of financial freedom and independence and all these sorts of things, what I really had done is I just kind of fooled myself into trading one illusion of certainty for another. The job where you get paid a certain number of dollars per hour to a membership site with a certain number of members that were created through traffic sources that didn't exist. That didn't exist anymore. So was I free? Or the real question is, in life, is there any certainty? And at that point, I'd already gone through, that was maybe the 3rd iteration of my business. So it was very much a point in time where I was like, again, here I am. I just did this and there's nothing I could have anticipated, and here I am. So what I realized for myself that caused a change in my perspective and a growth in me was that I had to come totally to terms with the fact that there is no certainty in this world. So for me, it was the point in time in my life where I truly let go of this illusion that if I do something, then I'm going to have a future that I can kind of lean on. At any point in time in life, shit can get, things can change. And at that moment, I had to say to myself, that's just how the world is. And with that truth, how do you want to live?
Mm-hmm.
And so I told myself, if that's the truth, then the way you should conduct yourself and what you can control is your attitude, right? Do what makes you happy today, now. And just know that today's today and tomorrow things might change. And that's just how it is. But don't fall for any, sort of lulling into a sense of right now, everything's awesome. It's easy in this industry to get that feeling because everyone's always selling you that. And there's very little clarity or distinction towards what is the reality of a scenario and what is the sort of belief that is fed into everyone in sort of like a, propaganda and media machine sort of a way. But we all buy it. So when I got that, it was also where I realized, because I was in this period of time for me trying to figure out this whole traffic thing. I can't go to a website like Google or Yahoo because that's what I'd built my business on. I'd been a great customer for these companies, and without any sort of notification, they just banned me like I'm some sort of thief. But I've been happily paying them $30,000 a month. And if that's how you get treated as a customer, I can't have any confidence in building a business on any of those platforms. When I looked around and I asked my counterparts, what were they doing? Because this was a marketplace scenario. They were either launching stuff, or some of them were going out of business, or they were just like doing stuff on Facebook. And I couldn't do that because it would be like making the same mistake, rolling the dice in the same exact way, knowing what might happen where I was kind of ignorant to it before, but I couldn't find any other solutions. And that's what really depressed me at the end of the day, because I always felt like I could figure something out. And the reason I couldn't figure anything out was because that was the first time that I realized there wasn't a solution. And this was the point at which I would have to create something so that there can be a continuity of quality traffic within an industry. And so that was where I started to think about the beginnings of how I would start our advertising agency, the home business agency. So I took the last little money I had and started buying newsletter ads because I knew I could support myself with newsletter ads. But unless things were done for others, it would be hard for others to do that without any experience. So I started to go out, test ads, and when I found ones that were profitable, I'd see what I could do to buy in bulk, and then I brought them back to our clients. After a little while, we had 3 or 4 vendors, and 5, and 10, and 12 to 15. And then we, maybe 4 or 5 months later, transferred that over to the network that we now have. So I think there's a part in this where we are kind of programmed to look for options within things that we're already familiar with. And when those don't make themselves apparent, most people fold. I was about to fold. And so I realized that this is a scenario where that play doesn't make sense in any way. So the only other option is to say to yourself, what could potentially be a solution that's bigger than just you? And so the question is that I was thinking about for you was, you say that you know this marketing game well, you're confident in it, but at the same time, you say that you don't have confidence. So for me, either that part's not clear for me, or there's a quote I know. What's it? It's when a belief is repeated consistently, it's an indication of fear. So I've kind of trained myself to look out for when I'm consistently hammering home a certain thing with an emotional force. Like I'm either trying to get others to believe or I'm trying to get myself to believe. And so I question when you said that to me, I know how to do this. Is that scenario where you're trying to sell yourself that you do, but the reality is it's just an indication of an underlying fear in the uncertainty that's inherent in the world. The world is as it is. And so it's just the perspective with which you choose to approach it. I think that when businesses are faced with situations out of their control that are detrimental, then it's definitely a moment for pause where you got to say to yourself, did I even really have a business? Because that's what I realized. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
If your business is totally dependent on another business and you have no control over, what happens, you kind of have a money-making scheme that's going to have a certain lifespan, but it's not a real business yet. And so it's a point for pause to say to yourself, what am I really trying to do? And is this a situation where I have to do something bigger than I think I can do? And am I willing to take those steps? Am I willing to take that risk? And so
Wow.
if you're in a place where you feel that way,
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's because you've lost belief in what you thought marketing was, because you had created something that felt good and was working within those contexts. But that's changed, and there's not a sort of guidebook for what to do now. And so this is the moment where you have to define, in my opinion, what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything you said was just like hitting home so much. Wow.
For a few things.
I was thinking of questions I could ask you, but it's just that you kept answering them. Yeah. Wow.
There's so when did you start marketing online? By the way, I'm 34, so you're not that much younger than me.
Right. I'm going to be 30 in May.
And I think I was 29 or 30 when it happened to me. So you're on the same sort of timetable that I was on when that happened.
Yeah. I made my first dollar in 2010, September.
Yeah, that's right when my business was crumbling. September, not September. September was my birthday. That wasn't a bad month.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bad month, but it was a bad month like way after a lot of bad months. So it was like less painful and
I just want to touch on one thing real quick. When you said like you were, you had to lay people off and you were running out of money and you had to make something work. What I'm trying to understand, like, and you didn't know what the next step was going to be, but you built something.
You never know.
Was there a voice that was saying, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Ask your question, because I don't mean to jump in. I do that too much. I apologize.
I was just going to say, was there something like right now it's just it seems overwhelming to me. It's like whatever you do, it's not going to work. So, but what you said to me was that I have to create something bigger than I think I can, or that I've been thinking of. That hit home.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll say it to you like this. Yeah. I think right now you're in a place where you feel wronged and you feel like these things happen. I know the feeling well, where it's like, why me? You know what I mean? It's that whole like self-doubt, grief, and all that. I get it. But if you say things like nothing can work, then that tells me that you're definitely thinking within a context of things you've learned, but not things that might be possible.
Right. Yeah. You're right. You're right. That one thing you said before is that you have to think about something totally brand new, like how you built your whole new traffic system away from Google, and what was the other one you were building with?
For me, I had my business. I started, when was it? October of the previous year was when I launched it. And from that moment, I think until it was 4.5 months. It wasn't that long. It went from zero to over $100,000 per month. And I was pretty proud of that. That was the first time I'd built something that quickly to that size. And it was supported primarily by performance-based media. It was either pay-per-click, Google, Yahoo, Bing, a couple smaller ones. Also, YouTube promoted video. I had a few newsletter ads out there. I had a few banner ads and things like that. But what happened was, every single large source of traffic, one after another, just banned me for no reason. Just like it was some sort of conspiracy. First it was Google, then it was Yahoo, then it was Bing. And the one last bastion of hope I had was my YouTube promoted videos, which was the highest converting. Every dollar I spent, I made two. So I was like, I've got this one sort of, string I'm hanging by. And then I didn't get banned, but my YouTube account got canceled. And then that was over. And so then I was just sitting there in the situation where I hadn't done anything wrong in comparison to the year before, and yet I was getting punished for something that, you probably understand and you feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the moment where it's time to grow.
Right.
We're fed a belief that things are easy and that if you just do this, you're going to get this result. But when you have these experiences that we both have had here now, you have to start to say that, well, that's bullshit, because a business isn't built on another business who has total control over what you do. It's not a business.
Right.
So how do you actually build a business? Right? That's when those questions came to me. And also, I just realized in my own industry, which was still the home business world at that point, it was like kind of the blind leading the blind, people just kind of hoping, or people just leaving the industry, doing something different. That was when Mike Dillard left and he went to do his Elevation Group deal. He's just out. He's like, yeah, man, I'm out. And he just crushed it over there. Jonathan Budd just started doing a bunch of launches. Brian Finale, and so if you don't know the names, it doesn't matter.
I know a few of them, yeah.
They're just doing a bunch of JV stuff. All their traffic was mostly through their affiliates, but it's a trickle down thing. Their affiliates can't get traffic, and it starts to affect them too. But like, no one was. It was like people were either saying, "The situation's shit. I'm out of here. I'm gonna make my money because at least I know how to do that," or let's just keep pushing the thing that we have and hope that that will sustain us. But no one was saying like, "This is a fucking problem, and ecologically, this is gonna fuck everybody over a long period of time. What do we do about it?" I didn't see one person approach it that way. And so it completely changed my perspective on how I view what I do, how I view what this industry is. And ultimately, it's what's led to the project I've been working on that has been tougher than I thought to get out, because it's more complex. It's the most complex thing I've done. But it's within that same vein, right? You can't have an industry that's totally controlled by, because it's not just your business, right? It's industries controlled by other industries. If everybody in the home business industry is on Google, or now Facebook, right? And then Facebook just disallows everybody, then there's a mad panic. But why would any real business person set themselves up for something like that? They wouldn't. So there's like this, it's you just start to see extreme biases in the world that you live in. And it's like, for me, it was a moment for me to kind of say, there's things that are much bigger than me that are apparent, and let's do that. Let's work on that, because that's more important than just you.
Absolutely. What keeps going through my head is, I don't know if you'll be familiar, maybe, but Dan Kennedy, in a few of his trainings, or a few, more than a few, he talks about how he had a client who had a business built on fax. The fax machine sending out faxes, spamming.
Yep.
And the government shut that down. And what you told me today, I always knew that lesson in the back of my head, but what you talked about today and how you applied it to online, and then for whatever, it just clicked. Like you applied that lesson for me today. So I mean, I just feel excited right now.
Cool. I'm glad I was able to give you some insight on that.